We're getting into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. That means warmer temperatures, maybe even some heat waves. So to cool ourselves down, let's try an ice-type Nuzlocke. Now, the list of Pokemon in this Nuzlocke is going to be incredibly limited. In fact, it's going to be one of the shortest lists we have seen so far in one of these Nuzlocke challenges. So we're going to be starting with Articuno, because that's the only one of the Pokemon not available in the wild. We'll be able to get the odd egg for Smoochum, which will evolve into Jinx. And then we're going to be faced with a choice, because the Swinubline, Delibird and Sneasel are all only available in the Ice Path. That means we have to pick one out of our 3 lines to become our Ice Path line. We'll be able to get Shelder and Cloyster quite easily by fishing, Sil and Dugong live in the Whirl Islands, and then we can get Lapras on Friday in Union Cave. And that means in total we will have just 6 evolutionary lines throughout the course of this Nuzlocke. And with Ice not being a great type defensively either, this one could be a little bit of a struggle. Anyway, that's enough prep work, let's now get ourselves in to the live run. So our first objective really is going to be trying to get past Rival 2. It's going to be Articuno only all the way up until past the Ilex Forest, where we have to defeat Rival 2. We will then be able to get our second Pokemon Smoochum via the odd egg, but we've got to deal with just Articuno till all the way up there. That in and of itself isn't necessarily so bad. Articuno should have a very strong start to the challenge, because Articuno is the Ice type. The first 2 gym leaders, their ace Pokemon, are going to be weak to the Ice type. I'm going to set the options because apparently I forgot to do those beforehand. So we shouldn't have too bad of a ride, even with Ice being fairly poor defensively. I think where we're going to struggle is from Rival 2 onwards. We've got Whitney, which is going to be a very, very tough battle for Articuno, because of course her Miltank is 4 times super effective with rollouts, and Smoochum has 0 defences. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to call this first Articuno 1, and every subsequent Articuno we will increment 1 with the nickname, and we'll see just how many it takes to get through that horrible midpoint of the challenge. Of course, once we've defeated Morty, that's when we'll get things really opened up. We'll be able to double our party length, and that's when I think I'll feel a little bit safer in this challenge, because at the moment I'm not feeling too confident at all. I'm starting recording this at 9 o'clock in the morning. I very much think I'll be still recording this at the end of my work day today. We shall have to see. In the meantime though, we're going to get ourselves all the way back to Cherry Grove City, where it's going to be time for the first rival battle. And of course it will stand to reason that the rival is going to have the Cyndaquil line in this challenge. Fire is super effective against Ice, so it just makes sense. Thank goodness this Cyndaquil though doesn't know any fire type moves at all. That makes this battle fairly simple. We get through and we can start heading back towards Elm's Lab. We'll call the rival triple question mark as we always do, and then we'll start heading towards Violet City. Now I do think it's going to be worth ascending the Sprout Tower early, just so that we can get some stat experience on our Articuno. We will very much hit the level cap doing that, but the stat experience will still stack. And because we're super effective against the Bellsprout, I've got a feeling it's going to be a very simple time. So I'll meet you all in Violet when it's time to get our Flash HM. Sprout Tower's kind of easy when you've got something super effective for literally every single one of the enemy Pokemon in the building. And I don't think it's going to be any more difficult here at the top of the Sprout Tower either. We've got rid of both Bellsprout. It's going to be a 2-shot on the Hoot Hoot. And we have already hit the level cap. We get ourselves Flash, we'll also get the Lantern, so that we don't have to have HM users. We have the Escape Rope, and the Escape Rope is a key item in this patch. If you do want to play the Nuzlocke patch, by the way, it is available on the website trainersquidgy.com. There's plenty of fun things you can do with the Nuzlocke patch as well. It's not just about restricting types. You can restrict all kinds of fun things, and it is available for free at trainersquidgy.com. Let's now beat up a pair of birds and then we'll think about Falkner. Falkner should be a fairly simple gym leader. He is, of course, our first gym leader together. He is a flying type specialist and he's going to lead with Pidgey. We've got Powder Snow and it makes mincemeat of the Pidgey. Out comes the Pidgeotto. Gust doesn't even do much damage at all, and we get through Falconer in 2 shots. That's our first of 16 badges, the Zephyr badge. We can celebrate for a little bit as we now head towards Azalea Town, and then we'll see where we get on from there. And now as we're heading into the Union Cave, I think we shouldn't have too many issues against the hikers. In fact, I'm going to take a couple of them on. I've decided I'm not going to use the candy jar until I absolutely have to. And with Pokemon like this Onix here in the cave, you've got really nothing too bad to be concerned about. We're going to pick up Swift. I'm not sure if Articuno can learn Swift. However, Swift is one of the best TMs to pick up early game because it's a very, very strong normal type move for this early on, and it's going to provide a lot of coverage to those Pokemon that maybe won't get hit so hard by the ice or by the flying type. So we'll grab Swift now, we'll see if Articuno can learn it, and then we'll head into Azalea proper. It turns out that yes, Articuno is in fact a proper bird. Not only can it learn Swift, it can learn Mud Slap as well. So having Swift and Mud Slap on the learn set is going to be very, very handy. We can maybe use that to cheese Whitney a little bit later on if needs must. Desperate times do sometimes call for desperate measures, and it does make sense to prepare for desperate times as well. Now, because we're playing on the Nuzlocke patch, we're not actually going to go and catch the HM friends. Instead, we've got to do the whole Rocket storyline, because we'll be getting ourselves items to get through the forest. That means the HM friends get a lovely day of rest. So I'll tell you what, these rockets aren't that interesting at all, are they? So we'll meet back up when it's time to take on Bugsy. I've candy jarred my way up to 16 with Articuno, and just before we engage Bugsy in battle, I do have to keep reminding myself I'm not up against the clock. That's something as a challenge runner, I am always in the mindset of having to go quickly, not thinking through my decisions. So I'm taking this Nuzlocke as an opportunity to really just slow down and try and play a little bit more sensibly. I think what I will do is I will give myself a berry to hold, not a bitter berry in this particular battle, a berry to hold, and we will see how we get on against Bugsy. He shouldn't be too difficult. He is our second gym leader. He's a bug-type specialist, of course, who leads with Metapod. Our speed has fallen. I can't see that being too relevant throughout the course of this challenge. We don't get Poison Stinged, or poisoned, I should say, by Poison Sting. Fury Cut has missed. It's all going wrong for Bugsy here. We get through and we obtain our second badge, the Hive badge. Articuno is doing very, very well for itself so far, but of course, the most dangerous battle for Articuno is now literally just around the corner. We'll do a safety heal, we'll have a little think, and then it'll be time for Rival 2. You know what, I don't want to take any risks at all. We're going to candy jar up to 20 to give ourselves the best chance of getting through this battle. We'll see how we get on. It is, of course, the dreaded Rival 2. Two of his Pokemon are going to be fairly easy. It's the Quilava I am worried about. We one-shot Ghastly, here comes the Quilava. Let's see how much does Gust do. Quite a lot, goodness me. I was worried for no reason. Well done, Articuno. You get yourself a pat on the back. Rival 2's easy. I'm happy about that. We can get ourselves into the forest, and we are going to be saying hello to our next Pokemon very, very soon. In the meantime, though, I will show you how the HMs work in this particular challenge. So, if you're trying to get through the cut tree, you still have to follow the Farfetch'd puzzle as normal. This Farfetch'd, of course, being that pesky one that slows us down every single challenge run. And then if you look here, we get HMO1, and we also receive the Scythe. Now, the Scythe acts exactly like the Cut HM. So you can see once you use Cut, choppy chop chop, and the tree goes down. The same thing applies for every single one of your field move items and moves. So, for instance, over here, you can get the Tree Shaker. That will act just like a headbutt tree. So now we can talk to any of the headbutt trees and they will shake. Just thought I'd let you know about those because I don't think I've ever shown them properly on a video. Now we're going to get ourselves settled in Goldenrod City where it's time for Pokemon number 2. Now just for a little bit of clarity with the Nuzlocke rules, because we're playing with a type restriction, we are able to reset the odd egg as many times as we have to in order to get the correct Pokemon, because there's only one type of Pokemon we're able to get here at the daycare, man. That is going to be Smoochum. We cannot keep resetting till we get the good Smoochum. We just keep resetting until we get Smoochum. Now, I can see on my screen which species is coming through. For instance, right now it's a Magby. So that does make this process a little bit easier. It can take quite a while, though, in order to get the Pokemon you're after. So I will let you know once we've got our Smoochum. There we go. Smoochum has been acquired. And I'm not going to spoil the suspense as to whether it's shiny or not. We shall have to see when we hatch it together. So now we're on our way into Goldenrod City. Unfortunately, I have been Camper Todd. He is going to throw his duck in our face, so we're going to have to use a couple of Swifts to get rid of it. Here in Goldenrod, there's not actually too much we can do at the moment. We're going to want to pick up an Ice Punch DM if Smoochum doesn't have it on the learn set. And other than that, it's just going to be our regular odds and sods to help us progress through the game. Of course, we don't need Kenya this time. We are still going to get the bike, because I do love the bike, even when we're not on the clock. So we'll go up to National Park. We'll have a little chat with Floria as well. And here is our Smoochum, and she's not shiny. And if you know about the odd egg, that means that you know that this Pokemon has 0 DVs across the board. This little specimen here, she is the single worst a Smoochum could ever be, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to deal with that. Her paper-thin defences aren't even classed as paper-thin right now. Anyway, I'll continue on with the Goldenrod chores, and we'll meet back up when it's time for Whitney. We'll grab the Quick Claw, actually, before we do Whitney. That could come in handy to try and outspeed the pesky Miltank. And now it's time for Whitney. We have a hope, a prayer, a bunch of freezing moves, and a passion to get through Whitney. She is our third gym leader. She is, of course, a normal type specialist who leads with Clefairy. We're going to try Gust against Clefairy. We knock it out in 3. Here comes the cow. The first thing we'll do is we will try and reduce this cow's accuracy as much as we can. We've frozen the cow. That is huge. Let's swap over to our Smoochum. Smoochum's Ice Punch is going to do so much more. We got through Whitney without a loss. Thank goodness for that. Let's get the badge. Let's leave here because we did not deserve that. Not in the slightest. But that does mean we are free of Goldenrod City. We get our third badge. We'll have a little chat with Floria to prove that we've got our third badge, and we can start heading towards Ecruteak City. Now, the first thing we're going to do in Ecruteak is lay the foundations to get our next Pokemon, because we are able to get Pokemon number 3 in the party straight away. Because of the way the Gen 2 progression works, we actually have access to both Mahogany Town and Olivine City at this point, and we're going to need this fine gentleman just to the west of Mahogany Town, I beg your pardon, because this is going to be the person who gives us the Water Stone, and we're going to need the Water Stone to evolve Shelder, who is going to be the next Pokemon that we are going to catch. So we'll grab the phone number from him, we'll teleport back all the way to Ecruteak City, and then we'll go and get ourselves the fishing rod. And here we are in Olivine City. We'll go and grab ourselves some repels at the same time, because we're going to need those throughout the course of the challenge anyway. We'll get 12 super repels. We're going to try and get some Great Balls as well, because some of the Pokemon we've got coming up do not have the best catch rates. And then in here, we're going to speak to the Fisher. We get ourselves the Good Rod, and that gives us access to Shelder. So now the plan is to try and get a Shelder and have it on the team. We'll evolve it as quickly as we can as well, once it's through all of its good moves. And then we'll take stock from there. Now, the good news is we don't have to go too far in order to find our Shelder. It's right here in Olivine Harbour. We're probably going to get through a few Magikarp in order to actually find the Shelder. But once it's on the hook, that thing is going to be ours. Part of the smartness of the Nuzlocke patch is to know when an encounter is invalid. It will show the little eye symbol at the top of the screen, and that means it's not going to track it towards your catches. So you can just keep re-rolling until you do get the correct encounter. And there we go, we can see we've got the 0 symbol here for our Shelder, and that means we can try to catch it. We'll use just a single Ice Punch here, and then we will start throwing Great Balls at it. Hopefully it will catch first ball, which you absolutely have. We will call it Shelly the Shelder, and then we will be ready to move on. So that's our third team member, Shelly, all done. we'll get ourselves back to Ecruteak City and we'll take stock with what we've got so far. Now, I left the game idle while doing a little bit of editing, and it turns out we've got the phone call we already need, so we're saving a trip all the way to Newbark Town here, and we're going to be able to get the Waterstone straight away. Let's re-register the bike now that we don't need the good rod anymore, and we will start heading back through Mount Mortar. Now, one of the soft rules I apply for myself on the challenge is for Pokemon that evolve into the type we're Nuzlocking, I don't like using them in battle until they've gained that type. So that means that Shelder would not really have been a viable Pokemon to use in battle. But now that we've got the Waterstone, we can evolve into Cloyster. And Cloyster definitely will be a Pokemon we can use in battle. We've got no problems evolving it early either, because Cloyster doesn't learn any good moves via level up really past this point. We've already got Aurora Beam. That's the best move I think we could get via level up, and of course, in just a matter of moments, we're going to get Surf. So I'll tell you what, let's take on the Kimono Girls to try and buff up our Cloyster a little bit. Now, as you would expect, we had no issues at all with the Kimono Girls. We'll get ourselves the Surf to HM, and we're also going to get the Raft as well, so we don't actually have to teach Surf. But in this instance, Surf is going straight on the learn set for Shelly, our Shelder. So let's get rid of Tackle. We're never going to use Tackle. And let's also take this opportunity to Candy Jar all the way up to level 25 in preparation for rival number 3. Now, I do think we're going to be leading with our Shelder for rival 3. I think that's going to give us the best chance of getting through, especially because of course now we are going to have the Water type for his Quilava. So those battles should have become a little bit easier. We'll get ourselves healed up, and just before we take him on, I'm going to use the NPC here on the second floor of the Pokemon Center, and we're going to find out our Hidden Power type, Hidden Power Electric for our Cloyster. And with that, let's now head into the Burnt Tower. So I'm not foreseeing any issues at all here at Rival 3, it should be a fairly smooth battle. But let's hope that isn't overconfidence. He's going to lead with Haunter, we will use Surf against the Haunter, but we are on a clock with Shelly. Magnemite comes out, Surf's a one-shot. Here comes Quilava, Surf is also a one-shot courtesy of Critical Hit. We'll use Aurora Beam against the Zubat, and Shelly is already proving her worth. She has swept the third rival battle. We'll fall through the floor, we'll release the beasts, we'll get out of here, and then it'll be time for Morty. Now, our one big issue against Morty is that we're gonna be slow. I'm going in holding the Minceberry to try and counteract some of the slowness, but we know we'll have a good start against the Ghastly. Haunter will use Nightshade, which isn't great, and here comes Gengar. Turn 1 Mean Luck is perfect, because that means we should now have a very, very easy rest of the battle. There's no PP left for Surf, that's fine, we'll swap to Aurora Beam, and we get ourselves the Fog Badge, and we can move on out of here with our level cap now at 30. So we have climbed our way up to the tippy top of the lighthouse. We're going to have a little chat with Jazz, and because of course we don't need the rare candies in this particular challenge, we'll escape rope all the way out of there, and we will cross the open seas. Now, the next gym leader, Chuck, could be problematic, however we have two things working in our favour. First of all, we've got the flying type on Articuno. Second of all, we've got the psychic type on our Smoochum. Our Smoochum can evolve into Jinx as well for this battle. However, I'm not going to do that because I want to get early access to Psychic. So we are going to now Candy Jar all the way up to level 30 with all of our Pokemon. We're not going to get any moves on Shelly. I doubt we're going to get anything useful on Lips either. But I'm going to be interested to see if we get anything on our Articuno. No thank you to the evolution on Jinx quite yet. Early Psychic is going to be much more important. So we're stuck with the same moves we had before. We don't have a good flying type move. We have Gust, and that's about it. But we should be able to make do in this gym. So let's head in now, and we'll see how we get on. Now, I am very happy that we aren't on the clock for this particular challenge, because that bloody Hitmonchan at the start of the gym burnt our Articuno. And that would have been a bit of a time loss. As it stands, though, that's no issue at all for us here. We get through the Primeape in 2 shots, and now we're just going to roll the dice and hope for the best here at the Poliwrath. It's 50-50 as to which berry you should use. We got the wrong berry this time, it seems. However, we wake up. I was planning to swap that battle. or swap on that turn, I should say, but my Turbo Fire went a little bit too quickly. It paid off in the end. We're never punished, and we get ourselves the Storm Badge. And with the Storm Badge, we can say hello to Chuck's wife. We'll get ourselves Fly, and that does mean that we are able to catch our next Pokemon. For that, we're going to go to this very friendly time-changing NPC. We're going to change the time to Friday. We'll do a cheeky little heal while we're at it. And now we've got a trip over to the Union Cave. And why are we going to the Union Cave, you may ask? It's because on Fridays, our next Pokemon will live deep inside the cave. It's Lapras, one of my all-time favourite Pokemon. It had a very, very good solo run together here on the channel as well. So I'm expecting very, very good things from this Lapras. Now, I can never remember whether it's this entrance or the other entrance we should be going through. We're going to try this entrance because I have a feeling we might be on the right track. Because I know there are a couple of optionals we need to avoid, but Lapras should be living just down here. So let's engage it in battle. We'll see how we get on. I reckon a couple of gusts should be enough to lower its health, and then we'll just have to start throwing great balls and hope for the best. Of course, Lapras doesn't have a great catch rate, so this could be fairly tricky to catch. We are just going to keep throwing balls. Hopefully one of them will get it caught, because that's all we really want. It's a male Lapras as well, which means it has a higher attack DV, and we'll call this one Ness, now that we have caught it. And Lapras is going to be one of our MVPs of the challenge. Let's get it and everybody else up to level 31. No Lips, you're not evolving yet. You've still got some time to go. And then we'll be going to another aquatic place in just a moment or two, because we're going to be going to the Lake of Rage, where we've got to beat up a very, very angry red Gyarados. So with Perish Song being declined, it's just the throw button in a Nuzlocke. We'll get out of here and we'll go to the lake. Now here at the lake, we are of course going to be picking up Hidden Power. There's no need to pick up the rare candy on this particular challenge. We will get the Detect TM that lives around here as well though. Even if we don't use it, it's good money for later on in the challenge. There's our Elixir, we will grab that. Definitely handy for the league. Detect lives just over here, and then we'll get Hidden Power, and then we'll have a little chance with the Gyarados. I reckon that Shelly is going to be our best option for the Gyarados, because we've got a lot of physical defense, and of course Ice Beam, or Aurora Beam I should say, will hit neutrally. We're going to teach Surf to our Lapras, get rid of Growl, and then we shall use our Air Balloon, which funnily enough has the shape of a Pokemon on it, to get ourselves over to the lake proper. We might get an encounter on the way up. In fact, we do. That's not the red Pokemon we are after. This is the red Pokemon we're after. It's the red Gyarados at the Lake of Rage. It's I, because it's invalid for this challenge. And now we will just keep on Aurora Beaming. Dragon Rage is the worst it could do that. I didn't realise it was a speed tie either. That could have been dangerous. We could have lost our Shelly, but thank goodness we didn't. We're now going to have a chat with Lance. Nothing's going to happen in the Mahogany Underground. It never does. So we'll meet back up for the price battle. As per usual, nothing at all happened in the Mahogany Underground. We did get all 3 of the Electrode exploding, which saved a little bit of time. That would have been great on a challenge run running Cloyster. But other than that, nothing really happened. It wasn't a particularly interesting time down there. We did get Border Douglas here in Price's gym, but that's going to be no problem whatsoever. We'll now complete the loop-de-loop and we will engage Price in battle. He is our 6th gym leader together. He is of course an Ice-type specialist, much like us, and he leads with the Pokemon we're about to get in Seal. So we'll Body Slam the Seal, knock it down in 2. We get flinched by the Dugong with a bloody critical hit headbutt as well, goodness me. All that cheese we have done over the time for the Dugong is coming to bite us in the bum. Let us use a Supersonic against this Dugong. We'll try and confuse it, see if we can do anything at all. And then let's just hope that Surf does a fair amount of damage. It doesn't do too much at all, unfortunately. So we're going to be in a little bit of a tit-for-tat with this Dugong. We should knock it out now, and then we get an easy end to the battle with the Piloswine. Fury Attack's going to do nothing. He's going to Healing Loop. He might even be a range there. There we go. A little bit of a war of attrition, but we do get the Glacier badge. And we get TM16, an Ice-type TM that we're probably never going to teach to anybody. Let's do our heal now. That was a little bit closer than I would have liked. And we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do while we're at it. So for that, we're going to go onto the air balloon. We're going to go first of all to Cherry Grove City to pick up an item we probably should have picked up a little bit earlier on. That being the Mystic Water. We will use that on probably our Lapras to increase our water output by 10%. So we'll give that straight away, and then it's going to be a flight over to Olivine City, where we're not going to be taking on Jasmine straight away. Instead, we're going to procure some Great Balls. I reckon 15 of them should be enough now for the rest of the challenge. And now it is time to embark upon a trip into the Whirl Islands. We normally only come here for rare candies, so this is kind of a bit of an exciting treat, isn't it? Getting to see the Whirl Islands in all of their glory. We're going to get the repel to wear off, and we are looking for this Pokemon here, Seal. That's exactly what we are after. Now, which Pokemon do I think can withstand Seal's onslaught and do a little bit of damage to it? Probably a couple of Mud Slaps, courtesy of our Articuno here. Lower its accuracy, it's going to go to sleep. We'll have to Mud Slap a few more times. And then we'll get to catching. I don't think Seal's going to be a particularly tricky Pokemon to catch. Let's use a Great Ball or two. We'll save the Ultra Ball for our last catch. There we go. We have a Seal all caught, and we're going to call it Rose, I think, for this one. And then before we take on Jasmine, our next gym leader will get out of here, and we'll get everyone up to the next level cap. So here we are back at the tippy top of the lighthouse. We'll give the secret potion to Jazz. And you know what? We're going to trust her today. I think she gave the secret potion to Amphi. That's why we're going to Candy Jar here in front of Amphi and let Jasmine get a little bit of a head start away to her gym. We're going to say no thank you once again to the evolution on our lips. It's just not going to be happening until we get the Psychic move, because that is why we're delaying the evolution there. Is one going to learn any moves this time? The answer is, of bloody course not. Shelly's not going to learn anything apart from Spikes, which we are actually going to teach, because Spikes could be handy. And then we'll see what Rose gets as well as we get everyone up to the level cap. We will also give Rose Surf. Makes sense to give all of our water type Surf. It's one of the strongest moves in the game, so it definitely makes sense to have it on the Learn set. And we say goodbye to Seal and hello to Dugong as well. So Rose is now eligible to battle. Absolutely fantastic. We'll teach Surf, like I said, to Rose here. We'll get rid of we'll get rid of Growl. We might have to do some fake Resto Chesto things. There's a rare candy, not quite sure why I'm picking it up. I do want to get the Swagger TM while we're up here in the lighthouse. It could come in handy. So we're going to say, Denise, I'm so in love with you. Denise, have you got a bloody clue what you're doing? Anyway, let's get through Denise. We'll get ourselves the TM34 here. We'll also pick up the Hidden Hyper Potion. We'll get out, and then we should have a fairly easy Jasmine battle, because the water type resists the steel type, so that does mean her Iron Tail doesn't necessarily have to be as strong as it otherwise would be. So this is Jasmine. She is our 7th gym leader together. She leads with Magnemite, it goes down with Surf. That was never up for debate. The question is, how does Steelix fare? And the answer is pretty bloody terribly. Critical hit, one shot to knock it out. We get our 7th badge, and we also get Iron Tail, and we say thank you, Jasmine. We knew that you were a trustworthy lady, after all. And with that, we can get up to the next level cap. So we will say yes to Ice Beam, absolutely all day in my face, please. Ice Beam is a fantastic move. Lapras is now the MVP of the team. Lips, are you going to get Psychic yet? That's what we're waiting for. There we go, level 37 Psychic, we get rid of Confusion, and yes, you can evolve now into your 0 DV Jinx. So that is 2 good Pokemon on the team now, even with 0 DVs, Jinx's special attack is going to be ludicrous. Articuno gets Mind Reader, not really any use for that, unfortunately. Shelly's not going to get anything, of course, because she's already... Or I say she, I don't know the gender of Shelly, but Shelly is already fully evolved via a stone. And then we will get Rose up to level 40 as well. Now, this is normally where we would break off, and I do all the rockets before we go into Rival 4. However, we have 7 badges, and this is Gen 2 Johto. That means we can now head into the ice path, where we're going to get our final team member. And we are going to be throwing the dice here, because it could be a choice of 3. We have Delibird, we have Sneasel, and we have Swinub. And I really want the Swinub out of the 3 of them. We are going to see who we get. It's going to take a while for us to get into the ice path, into our encounter. But really, really keeping my fingers crossed for Swinub. Sneasel would be good, but we are playing in the day. Delibird would be the worst of the 3, unfortunately. I'm still not over that Christmas Delibird run. It's June as I'm recording this, and I still feel salty. HMO7 lives here, by the way, but we will get the ladder for our waterfall purposes just before we get to Tojo Falls, so don't worry about that if the item doesn't show up if you're playing the Nuzlocke patch. We're just going to keep making our way through the ice path as normal, but we're not going to wear a repel, and hopefully we will get ourselves an ice-type Pokemon instead of all these bloody Zubat and Golbat. It will happen eventually, and we are going to get the Nevermelt Ice in here as well. We'll be holding on to Nevermelt Ice when we need a buff to our Ice-type moves. And here we go, we have a Swinub. And you know what, we're just going to fling balls at it. We've got an Ultra Ball, let's see if that is enough to catch it in one. The answer is no, it's using Endure, so we'll start throwing Great Balls. We won't fart anywhere, that'd be a little bit rude. I don't think Swinub's in the Fleamon list, thank goodness. Not that it matters anyway now, though. We get ourselves Swinub, we will call it Piggy, and then we'll get out of here, and it will then, unfortunately, be time for me to do the dreaded Rocket Radio Tower. It's my least favourite part of the Johto game, and I have to do it every single run, and this is no exception. We'll grab our other useful items here in the ice path. We've got no room. What don't we need anymore? We don't need this nugget. So we'll toss that, get ourselves a PP up. We'll be using that for Ice Beam probably on one of our Pokemon. And now that we're out of there, we'll make our way into Goldenrod City. And before we do Rival 4, I'm just going to check the hidden power type of our latest catches. So we've got Flying type hidden power on Lapras. What does Rose have? We'll swap up into Tippy Top Spot. Rose has hidden power Water, neither use nor ornament. And finally Piggy. Piggy has the Flying type hidden power. I tell you what, while we're here we will get Piggy up to level 40 as well. And then it will be time for the 4th and penultimate rival battle here in Johto. So I don't think, apart from the evolution, we'll be getting too much interesting, although it's been a while since I have played with the Swinub line. I seem to remember its level up learn set leaves a lot to be desired. There we go, level 40, let's get out of here and take on Rival 4. And we are officially the first third of the way through the radio tower, and with that it is time for Rival 4. We're going to lead with Lapras, it's our best Pokemon by far, and he is going to lead, of course, with Golbat. We'll use Ice Beam against the Lapras to try and take it, against the Golbat rather, to try and take it down in one. Magnemite comes out next, we know Surf's going to one-shot there. Haunter, we outspeed and we knock it out in one. Sneasel's got nothing for us either, Feint Attack does very little at all, and that just leaves Quilava left to go. It's a one-shot with Surf against Quilava, we get through Rival 4, and Joy Unleashed, we've got more rockets to go. Now, this is kind of good for the stat experience, because I'm trying to spread out the stat experience in this challenge. However, it doesn't make the rocket section any less mindless. It really just is one of those sections I wish I could cut out, not only of Nuzlockes, but challenge runs as well. In fact, when I do Nuzlockes, I try to take on most trainers en route, because we're running with a full party, and that means I do want to get a lot more stat experience. But the rest of the time, I just want to get through this section, because it is so bloody annoying. I'm not going to make you sit through the rest of it. Instead, we will meet back up when it is time for Claire. And with that, we find ourselves in front of Claire. She is, of course, the Dragon-type specialist of Pokemon Crystal, and she leads with 3 Dragonair. We outspeed all 3 Dragonair, and it's a one-shot with Ice Beam, so we don't need to worry about being paralysed by Thunder Wave, and we can instead turn our attention over to the Kingdra. Now, I think our best option is still going to be Ice Beam against the Kingdra. We did get paralysed by Dragon Breath, unfortunately, but as long as we're not fully paralysed for too many turns in a row, we should be fine. I tell you what, let's swap to Rose for this last part of the battle, because we have Aurora Beam there, and hopefully, now that she's locked herself into Hyper Beam, we'll be absolutely fine. There we go, bit of a sloppy Claire battle, but I did want to make sure that we preserved our Lapras. We don't get the badge straight away from Claire though. Instead, there's going to be a little bit of faff, and you know what? We're going to add to the faff by going to the Pokemon Center and healing away that paralysis. Just wanted to play it safe in that battle against Claire because we don't want to lose Lapras. Lapras is by far our strongest Pokemon on the team, even more so than a Pokemon like Articuno. So we hold on to it and we protect it at all costs. I would have sacked the Dugong in place of Lapras because we've got 3 Water Ice types on the team anyway. And I think Cloyster's ridiculous defense means that it's probably got a better point on the team than, unfortunately, Dugong. Let us now answer this questionnaire. It's going to be 11212, exactly the same as the Radio Tower radio card quiz puzzle. And with that, we do get our final Jotonian badge. That is Claire's badge, the Rising badge. So let's now start heading towards the Pokemon League. There is the ladder I mentioned earlier. That is how we can get up the waterfalls without having the waterfall HM. Didn't mean to encounter Cool Trainer Megan here with her Bulbasaur line. She is actually an avoidable spinner, I just messed up my movement. But on the way to the league, I'm trying to think what the best strategy is. A lot of you who have seen my Nuzlocke live streams know I'm fairly strong in Johto, but then as soon as we get to the league, it all just falls apart. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that doesn't happen here in this particular Ice Nuzlocke. There is a chance, quite a high chance, we'll lose some Pokemon, but I will do my damnedest to make sure that the casualties are as minimal as possible. And I'd like you to do me a favour. Let me know in the comments down below, how many losses do you think I'm going to personally get in the league? We're not talking about a good player with this party, we're talking about me. How bad do you think I am going to make this Pokemon League? Because I've got a feeling, you know, it might not be one of my best times ever. I think we'll be fine against Will, because he starts off, of course, with Xatu, and that's weak to ice, so that's a really good beginning. But I think after that, it's anybody's guess. I know I'm selling myself short here, but as one commenter said, I'm probably the worst Nuzlocker on YouTube, and I wear that kind of as a badge of pride, honestly. Anyway, I'll keep making my way towards Rival 5. Let me know how well you think we'll do. Now on the way to the league, there are a couple of bits we'll pick up. We'll grab the extra HP up, we might want that for Sabrina. And we're also going to get the Earthquake TM. Earthquake will be on our Piloswine. In fact, why don't we teach it straight away? Earthquake is TM number 26. Piloswine is the only Pokemon that can learn Earthquake anyway, so we'll get... Oh, goodness me, look at that abysmal learn set for going into the league. We'll get rid of Tackle there. Is there anything else we can give our Piloswine to try and make it a little bit better? We'll give it Headbutt. Headbutt's a good move. So Earthquake, Powder Snow, Headbutt, Takedown, and hopefully it'll learn Amnesia at some point in the course of the challenge anyway. With that, it's time for the 5th and final rival battle. This time he's going to lead with Sneasel, and that's fine for us because Sneasel's not a particularly good Pokemon. We'll two-shot Sneasel and out comes Magneton. Surf should comfortably one-shot, but it doesn't. Goodness me, that is a little bit concerning, isn't it? We'll have to Earthquake away the Magneton, out comes Kadabra. We will take advantage here of probably a Future Sight, and we will get to Ice Beaming Kadabra. We know that we've got enough bulk to take care of a single Future Sight. Look at that, did next to nothing at all. We'll Surf on the Haunter. We will Surf also on the Typhlosion as it crits us, but he's only got Golbat left to go. Ice Beam connects, knocks it out in one, and so what could have been a hairy Rival 5 ended up being fairly simple. And with that, we're at the Pokemon League. So we're going to heal up, we'll buy as many full restores as we can afford. Let's get all 20 of them, and we'll get 21 for posterity, and then we'll take a look at our team. So this is how our who's who of who the heck are you is shaping up in this Nuzlocke. We have a Lapras at level 42 with 170 HP, Mystic Water with Ice Beam, Confuse Ray, Body Slam and Surf. We've got Rose the Dugong with the Scamulet's Coin, Surf, Headbutt, Aurora Beam and Rest. We've got Lips the Jinx with Ice Punch, Psychic, Body Slam and Sweet Kiss. We have Piggy the Piloswine with Earthquake, Powder Snow, Takedown and Headbutt. We have Shelly the Cloyster holding a Minceberry with Surf, Withdraw, Spikes and Aurora Beam. And finally we have Articuno. It is our number 1 with Gust, Powder Snow, Swift and Mud Slap. Those are the Pokemon we're looking at. I am now going to look away from my screen and I will show you the stats, but I'm not going to look. So the stats will be on screen and then we'll do the league. So for those of you interested in stats, there is Lapras. There is Dugong. Here is Jinx's stats. We have Piloswine stats on screen right now. Then we've got Cloyster's stats. And finally we have Articuno's stats. Please do pause the video if you want to get a better look at those. I did not read any of those numbers, so I am completely clueless. With that, let's get into the league and let's face Will. So this is our first league member, Will. He is of course a Psychic type specialist and he's going to lead with a Xatu. We outspeed the Xatu and get an Ice Beam off on it, and up next is Jinx. We'll use Body Slam and we take her down to half health. Psychic hits us and then Lovely Kiss misses. Executor's third up, thank goodness for that, because we can use an Ice Beam against that. Slowbro could be a little bit pesky, you know, so we're just going to get Body Slamming it and hoping that it gets a little bit incapacitated. That was a critical hit. Oh dear, panic. What do? We are against a Slowbro. It has just crit us and things are going a little bit south. Let's send out Rose. Psychic hits us fairly hard, but not too hard. We'll just keep headbutting this thing now and hope it goes down. Thank goodness for that. We have another Xatu, though. That is an issue. What do we do with the Drunken Xatu? Let's swap to our Lips. Psychic doesn't hit us very hard. Ice Punch should hit it very hard back. And we get through Will without a loss and only a little bit of panic singing. Let's move on to Koga. So before taking on Koga, we are going to heal our party and get everyone up to the new level cap of 44. So we need to use a full restore on Ness, we need to use one on Rose, and we need to use one on Lips. After that, we'll get the candy jar out, and it's going to be level 43 that we learn Rain Dance instead of Confuse Ray on Ness. Nothing at level 44, of course. Rose is learning Ice Beam, thank goodness for that. An upgrade to our Ice-type move on our Dugong. Then we've got Lips. Do you have anything for us? The answer is no. Piggy may or may not learn something useful. The answer is, of course, it bloody doesn't. Shelly's not going to get anything. And then finally, we have our Articuno. With that, we're at level 44. Let's see how we get on. And after a quick hydration break, this is Koga. He is our second league member. He is, of course, a Poison-type specialist who leads with Ariados. We're going to start off with a Surf against the Ariados, take it down in 2 shots. Up second is Venomoth. Venomoth hits us with Psychic, but we've got a fair amount of bulk behind us. Supersonic and Toxic is particularly frustrating, though. We're going to take our opportunity here to swap out because we are poisoned, and we'll swap into our Dugong here. We'll use a couple of Surfs as Spikes have come out. Muck's next. Dugong should be absolutely fine with Muck. We'll use a combination of Headbutt and Surf there. We'll even use an Ice Beam for good measure, knock it out. Crobat's next. If we hit through the Ice Beam, or hit through the double team rather, we should be in with a good time against this Crobat. And that seems to be almost exactly what we've done, but there is a slight issue here in that we're not able to hit the last Crobat turn. We're going to take some Spikes damage and a little bit of Wing Attack damage, and we're going to risk it for a biscuit here. It has paid off. We get through Koga first time. Let us heal everybody back up. That was less bad than I thought it was going to be. But of course we have the dreaded Bruno next. Now before taking on Bruno, I've got everyone up to the new level cap of 46. I've also put Jinx as our lead in the party. I think Jinx having her Psychic move could be the best play here. We one-shot the Hitmontop. We take a bit of damage from the Hitmonchan. The big issue is going to be the Machamp. If we're able to one-shot it, then this is an easy battle. If we don't, we're going to be throwing the dice, and Rock Slide knocks our Jinx out, unfortunately. Let us swap to Piggy here. We'll use an Earthquake and see how much Earthquake can do. Earthquake does a surprising amount, in fact. We're able to two-shot it. And let's just continue Earthquaking now against the Hitmonlee. We knock it out in one, and our Piloswine actually did something useful. It's a shame we've lost Jinx, but she did us proud. That's exactly what we wanted Jinx to do. We wanted her to get through Bruno. And with that, we're on to Karen. She's our final league member. She is, of course, a Dark-type specialist who leads with Umbreon. Now, Umbreon could be a little bit pesky, so we're going to use an Ice Beam there. We have been Sand Attacked, and we're confused. This isn't a great position to be in. However, it was only a single turn of confusion. We just need one more Ice Beam or something to hit this Umbreon, preferably without hitting ourselves in confusion. And now we're going to swap into something else. Vileplume. It's going to see that we're at under half health, so I think it's going to go personally for some kind of grass-type move. So I'm going to swap into Articuno there, and yes, it did go for a grass-type move. Powder Snow's not going to do too much, but Petal Dance is going to do very little against us. That brings us on to Houndoom. Now, that is a bit of an issue. I misclicked there. Let's have a think. What do we do for Houndoom? I think, you know, we go into Nest. We should be able to tank a Flamethrower. Easily tank a Flamethrower there, or two. Surf should take out the Houndoom. Let's move on to Gengar. It uses Curse. We use Surf. We knock it out in one. Final Pokemon's Murkrow. Feint Attack isn't enough to knock us out. We get through Karen. Goodness me, that made me think on my feet. I'm proud of myself for that battle. That was Lossless Karen. So let's now get everyone healed up, and to the next level cap, we'll use some elixirs as well, because we're starting to run out of good Ice-type moves, so we need to use 3 full restores. Let's grab some elixirs. We'll use an elixir on Rose, we'll use an elixir on Ness, and we'll also use an elixir on Wern as well. As for the held item, what should we go in for with Lance? Probably the Nevermelt Ice on Lapras. That might be a shout. Then again, it might not be. I'm not sure. I don't think we'll need the Nevermelt Ice for the Dragonite. We shall have to see. I'm very glad I caught myself there, because we didn't get to the level cap either. Let's get everyone up to level 50, and then we'll have a proper little think about what to do for Lance. Safeguard could come in handy, so we'll teach that in place of Rain Dance. Rain Dance is renewable after all. Does Rose get anything good at level 50? The answer is no. How about Piggy? Do you learn anything? I doubt it, but we live in hope. Next up is Shelly, who of course is going to get nothing. And then finally we have our number one, who gets Ice Beam at long last. There we go, Ice Beam on our one. And with that, we're at level 50 for everyone. Let's take on Lance. He is, of course, the low with the flyers, and I've decided to sub in Dugong in place of Lapras in first spot. I think Dugong having the slightly higher speed might see us fit here compared to our Lapras, who could be a little bit slow for some of these Pokemon. We're off to a very good start here, one-shotting both the Dragonites. This is a scary Pokemon, this Aerodactyl. Rock Slide's going to hit like a truck. Ice Beam, though, hits even harder back. That brings us on to the next Dragonite. We one-shot that. Charizard's last out to play. We'll swap to Surf. We outspeed. We knock it out in one. And that is Lance all defeated. And we've only had one loss from the beginning of New Bark Town all the way to the end of the Indigo Plateau. I am very happy with that, considering we've only had 6 Pokemon the entire way through this Nuzlocke. And here they are in the Hall of Fame. We've got Rose the Dugong, Ness the Lapras. We have Piggy the Piloswine, Shelly the Cloyster, Wern the Articuno, and of course Lips the Jinx. That is our Hall of Fame for this Nuzlocke, but it is only half of the story. There's another 8 gym badges plus a red fight left to come, so don't you dare go anywhere, because Kanto is next. And we're rejoining the action here in Vermilion City, where we're going to have a bit of an impromptu Kanto chat. I'm going to start by unlocking all of the areas we can here in Kanto to try and make sure that we can have a smooth ride through the gyms. And I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about my skills, or lack thereof, as a Nuzlocke player. I've never really been into Nuzlocks. It's not something I've ever given myself time to really learn, so doing it together here on the channel and having that added pressure, especially on live streams, means I'm never particularly too good at Nuzlocks, especially when you've got things like the distraction of chats going on. But I like to think I'm getting better. I think if I'd have done the Ice-type Nuzlocke first, we definitely would not have seen us get all the way through to the Kanto section with just one loss. And if you enjoy Nuzlocks as well, let me know. I think we could probably do a fair few Nuzlocke-ish live streams. I'm currently working on a Nuzlocke version, or a gift-lock version I should say, of Pokemon Yellow. That could be an awful lot of fun to do, in a way to familiarise myself with Generation 1 Kanto, which is of course incredibly different from both Generation 2 and 3 Kanto, where I am fairly familiar with what goes on. And now, if you've never seen my Kanto routing for the Nuzlocks, don't worry, it seems like I've never seen it either, really. In this particular one, I like to get everything unlocked before we take on any of the gyms when we do Nuzlocks, because I think that way we get a much, much better ride through. It gives us the option of going to any gym leader in any order, so if we do need to delay one, we always have that option available. Now, we're not going to be using the candy jar until well after we have defeated the main Kanto leaders, and we'll use it for blue, because otherwise it's going to be ridiculously easy. And where's the drama and where's the suspense in that? I do like the drama and suspense, although I never throw for content in these. I don't need to. I'm that bad that throwing comes naturally to me. I did also do another double check of the Kanto decks, and we get no new Pokemon, unfortunately, in this particular challenge, unlike some of the other challenges where we do get the later Kanto Pokemon to bolster the team back up. So now that we've gone through here, we'll go over to Cerulean City, and we've got Nugget Bridge. And Nugget Bridge, quite honestly, is one of the longest minutes and a half of my life every single time we do it. Although it is very good for stat experience on a Nuzlocke, I will give it that for its credit. Now, while we're going through Nugget Bridge, I do just want to talk about some of the other things that are coming up. The reception to the Versus video, or the double-headed video, I don't like calling it Versus, I don't like pitting Pokemon against each other really, was very, very good. I'm incredibly happy that you all seem to like the format for the most part, so we'll definitely be doing more of those. I think the Sunday time slot is where we'll be seeing those longer videos. So a video like this, a Nuzlocke, will come out on a Sunday, and if we're not doing a Nuzlocke and we're not doing some kind of special challenge run, that's likely when we will see the head-to-heads coming up in those videos as well. So Sundays for those, everything else is going to be a little bit of a free-for-all. And I have this week just locked in the summer schedule here at the channel. Those of you who aren't aware, I always do my content in seasons, so I pre-plan every single season ahead of time, so I can kind of figure out when I'm going to record certain things, what Pokemon might take a little bit more time, what ones will take a little bit more coding effort, especially now that we're doing the backports, and between them, I always try and make sure that we have a very exciting season, and I think this season is going to be one of the best. I've mentioned it in a couple of places, but this season is all going to be about celebrating the number 3 with Gen 3 Pokemon here in Gen 2. And the reason for that is it's going to be the 3rd anniversary of the channel in August. August 22nd is the 3rd anniversary of when I uploaded my very first video here onto YouTube doing a challenge run. So I thought, what better way to celebrate than by bringing some of those Pokemon from a very, very good generation into the game we've all known and loved over the last 3 years. So we've got a huge plethora, not just of videos, but of live streams as well. We've already started to see some of the Gen 3 celebrations, and it's going to be a big 3-month affair. So now is the time, while I may still have 1 or 2 slots left in the schedule, to bring up any Generation 3 Pokemon you desperately want to see during the summer month. If I either get a video that didn't quite work out, or I find a slot in the schedule, I will do my best to try and fit it in. And we are now roughly about halfway through the Kanto section here before we can get to facing our gym leaders. We want to unlock every single place we can, and then we'll be able to start beating up all of these gym leaders. Of course, that bit there is the last thing we need to do. And you know what? It's been a while since we've said hello to 3 Drill. 3 Drill is actually going to be getting a feature this season. We are going to be doing an entire run as 3 Drill in August for the channel's anniversary. I've done special sprites, I've done some special coding at Elms Lab, and that is one of the runs I'm most excited to do. I think there's a viewer, Jerry and Bridgman, if you are watching, this is where B-Drill is going to get not only its spotlight, it's going to get its spotlight 3 times over. But we are almost ready now to take on our first Cantonian gym leader. We've just got to get over to the Seafoam Islands because we're going to take on Blaine first. Blaine is the most out of the way, so I like taking him on first. And we've got the water type on 3 of our 5 Pokemon. We've got the ground type on another. So it's not going to be a particularly tricky battle, I don't think. We've just got to get all the way over there. So we'll surf over here. We'll make sure we dodge the spinner. And now it is time for our first Cantonian gym. So this is Blaine. Blaine is a fire type specialist. He lives here in the Seafoam Islands and he's going to lead with Magcargo. We're going to put Surf in first spot and we're going to sweep. It's going to be a one-shot on Magcargo. It's going to be a one-shot on the Bumhead Fireduck. And then it's going to be a one-shot on the Rapidash as well as Fury Attack misses. We grow up to nothing. I thought we grew a level there, but we don't. And instead we get Blaine's badge. And we're going to move on to Fuchsia City, where Janine lives. So I thought we'd been to Fuchsia. Goodness me, we'll take the long walk of shame. I'm fairly certain we went to Fuchsia. I might need to double check the coding. Make sure that Fuchsia hasn't accidentally been deleted from the fly list. Not that it matters, because we're already here. So let's now swap Dugong in second place, into first place rather, because it's got a little bit more speed than our Lapras, and we will take Janine on. She is our second Cantonian gym leader. She is, of course, a poison type specialist who leads with Crobat. I forgot we were out of Ice Beam PP there, so we'll have to use Surf instead. It shouldn't make any difference to the course of this battle. Should be a very simple affair, no matter what we do. We get through both of the Wheezing, and it just leaves Venomoth left to go. Double Team's going to be meaningless. We knock it out, we grow to 53, and we get our second badge from Janine, and we can move on to another gym leader. And I'm thinking, you know, Erica might be best to take on next, because of course Erica's the grass type leader, and we have Articuno with Ice Beam now, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. While we're in Celadon, we are going to change the time to night. We can do that courtesy of this time-changing bloke here. So it's going to be the Dark palette now. We'll do a heal, and we'll also pick up the Leftovers, and we'll pick up the Curse TM. We're picking up Curse because there's a chance we might need to scam Red with our Piloswine. If all else fails, if I don't feel confident enough, we can use our Piloswine with Curse and Amnesia, and then we will just get to sweeping. Got a little ways to go before we get to blue though, to red though. We still have plenty more Cantonian gym leaders. So I tell you what, I'll make my way through Erica's mandatories and we'll meet up for the battle. And with that, it is time for Erica. Erica is going to be our next Cantonian gym leader. She's number 3 today and she leads with Tangela. Tangela goes down to a single Ice Beam. Victory Bell comes out and goes away straight away as well. Up next is going to be Blossom. Blossom's not going to stand a chance. And then we have Jumpluff. Jumpluff goes down in one hit as well, and that is Erica defeated, and we obtain the Rainbow Badge. That was a nice and easy gym. Let's move on to another one which will hopefully be just as easy as well. I'm feeling Brock next, you know. Brock shouldn't be too tricky. He is, of course, going to be weak to water, so we will put Ness out up in front. And I think even with his 2 fossil Pokemon, Ness should not have any issues at all. So we knock out that first Sandslash, we grow to 51 on our Lapras, and we will take on Brock. Brock is our 4th Cantonian gym leader. He is a Rock-type specialist who leads with Graveler. It's a 1-shot on the Graveler, it's going to be a 2-shot on the Kabutops, and up next is Omastar. It's going to be a 2-shot on Armor Star as well as Spike Cannon barely tickles us. Onyx is up, it is down, and that just leaves Rhyhorn left to go. We one-shot the Rhyhorn, we get through Brock, and that is another Cantonian gym leader defeated, and now we've only got 4 left. I've decided on Sabrina next. I think she's going to be the easiest of all of them coming up. She does of course lead with Espeon, which can be a bit of a Peskeon, but Sand Attack failed. It did hit on turn 2 however, and we are on to Mr. Mime. We'll use an Ice Beam against Mr. Mime as it uses Barrier. It's probably going to think about Baton Passing, so we'll just have to stop it in its tracks. Last Pokemon is Alakazam. We can use a couple of Ice Beams against the Alakazam, and we will be absolutely fine against Sabrina. There we go, that is our next gym badge. March badge all acquired, and I think we're going to do Misty next. Now Misty's a bit of an annoying one, because we don't have anything great against the water type, with us having a lot of water types on our team to begin with. So we're just going to have to make do with what we've got. We'll Body Slam the Golduck. Now, because we're playing Gen 2, this Quagsire is not going to have Water Absorb. So we'll knock it out in 2. It's Lapras versus Lapras. We'll Body Slam her Lapras as she goes for Surf. And she's not Perish Songing. That is perfect. That just leaves Starmie left to go. We will use a few Body Slams against this. And hopefully it will go down just like that. That is Misty defeated, and next up is going to be Lieutenant Surge. So we are leading with Piggy for Surge. Of course it makes sense, Piggy is immune to the electric type, and we'll see how we get on. Surge leads with Raichu. Quick Attack does a whole couple of HP worth of damage, not enough to even think about. Double Team on Electrode's going to be meaningless if we hit through it. Magneton's out next. Earthquake is going to be a one-shot, of course it's 4 times super effective. We'll use another Earthquake against the second double teaming Electrode. And that just leaves Electabuzz left to go. Light Screen means nothing to us because we were using our physical moves. That is the Thunder Badge acquired. And with that, we have 7 of our 8 Cantonian badges, 15 out of 16 overall. So let's now get ourselves prepped for blue. So of course, the first thing we're going to do is use the Candy Jar to get everybody up to the level cap of 58. We did very well in Kanto. We had no need to get to the level cap before then. We'll say no thank you to Blizzard. And we will be teaching Amnesia later on to Piggy. I can tell you now we're not going to be leading with Piggy for this battle. Does one learn anything? The answer is, of course, like always, no. Ness isn't going to learn anything too useful, I don't think. Maybe it'll try and Perish Song or Hydro Pump. We don't want either of those. Shelly's not going to get anything, but it is nice to get Shelly up to the level cap as well. Not going to be helping us all at all out in the red fight with its lack of special defense. And finally, we'll get Rose up as well. And with that, we will swap to probably our Ness for this battle, and we'll see how we get on. So I've decided to lead with our Articuno. It's the Pokemon we started with. I think it's only apt that we finish our gym challenge, at least by leading with Articuno. We know that we'll one-shot the Pidgeot, and he will send out Arcanine second. We're going to use a Mud Slap against the Arcanine, try and reduce its accuracy a little bit, because honestly, I'm not really in the mood for Arcanine shenanigans. After that, we will swap into Ness and hopefully not take too much damage from a Flamethrower. Flamethrower misses and Surf knocks it out. Up next is Alakazam. I think we'll use a Body Slam, although he has reflected, but we crit, that's fine. We've got Surf now for the ride on, that's brilliant. That goes down in one shot. Gyarados could be a little bit pesky. He could go straight for the Hyper Beam. Hydro Pump is fine. You keep Hydro Pumping or Twistering. The more you do that, the more likely it is we will win the rest of this battle. Twister's absolutely fine. We knock out the Gyarados. That just leaves Executor left to go. It's going to take in Sunlight. We get through. And we have defeated Blue to obtain the Earth Badge. And with that, we have all 16 gym badges acquired. That means we can fly on over to Pallet Town. We can have a little chat with Oak. And we can then think about getting our Pokemon all the way up to the new level cap of 81. And we're going to bring this challenge to an end. So here we are in Silver Cave. The first thing we're going to do is say thank you to Jinx. You've been with us throughout the entire Kanto section. You've been taking a rest. You've been egging us on. And I know that with your help, we're going to get through this red battle with the greatest of ease. We are going to get everybody up to the new level cap of 81. It is unfortunately going to be a bit of a tedious process, but it is one that is absolutely necessary for us to get through this battle. I think, you know, I might try cheesing it with the Piloswine. I don't want to learn Blizzard. That's twice now I've tried declining Blizzard. Blizzard is not a good move. I am always about the accuracy over the power. Even accuracy over the power points as well, which is why you'll quite often see me take Ancient Power in place of a Rock Slide. As we are leveling up though, I do just want to say I have had a lot of fun in this particular Nuzlocke. I feel like I have played fairly well throughout. We've had a lot of luck, especially at the Whitney fight, but I think it's been a very, very good Nuzlocke overall, especially by my standards. And I really hope you've had a lot of fun too. If you haven't liked the video and you have got this far and enjoyed yourself, please do consider pressing like now. I've heard that the later on in a video you like the video, the more likely it is that YouTube believes that you're liking for the sake of the video, and not just because someone like me is asking you to like said video. We learnt Amnesia there on Piggy. That's going to be one of our very, very vital moves. It can help us get through a lot of red fairly easily, because that combined with Curse means we'll be practically untouchable unless he crits. But you know what it's like, he will probably crit, derail the entire strategy, and I will then be panicking, and I will try my best to come up with something on the fly. We've already got Safeguard on another Pokemon, we don't need it twice. Thank you very much, Rose. Let's get you up to 81, and then we will start trying to beat up Red. I'm going to have a quick look at the learn set and look at the TMs as well, see if there's anything I think we need to teach. Although I've got a feeling with Headbutt and Curse, along with Amnesia and Return, we should be absolutely fine. So we've currently got Headbutt, Earthquake, Amnesia and Takedown. We're going to teach Curse to our Piloswine now. We're going to replace Takedown with that. And with that, I think the prep work is done, so we don't hold back. And now we don't hold back. Deep breaths, everyone. It's time to take Red on in battle. I've reorganised the moves to try and reduce the chances of misclicking, and we'll see how we get on. The first thing we're going to need to do is use a bunch of curses. We're going to get ourselves all the way up to maximum attack, which at the moment means we are going to need to use a total of 8 curses. Then we're going to use 3 Amnesia. These 3 Amnesia are going to get us up to maximum special defense as well. And we will use a Headbutt against the Pikachu. That is more than enough to one-shot Pikachu. Here comes Charizard. I misclicked there and used Earthquake. We meant to use Headbutt. I was overthinking. We didn't get crit though, and we have not been burnt. That is one of the big threats gone. We will then use Earthquake against the Blastoise. We survive the Earthquake, or the Surf, I beg your pardon. Espeon's next. It's going to use Reflect. That's fine by us. Earthquake's more than capable of getting through regardless. We are going to use a pair of Earthquakes if we need to against the Snorlax, but we don't. And that just leaves Venusaur left to go. It takes in Sunlight, but we one-shot it. We have cheesed Red. And that is the end of the Ice-type Nuzlocke. And I am really happy with how this one went. I was a little bit nervous going into it, knowing we only had 6 Pokemon, but to survive with 5 right up until the bitter end, I think is a very good showing. If you did enjoy this one, please do make sure to leave a like. If you've got any feedback, leave it in the comments down below. I read everything that you lovely people say. If you do want to see more just like this, click the subscribe button. And until next time, I'll say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.